What protagonist would have been hated by the fanbase if they weren't the protagonist, i.e. the story is told from another character's perspective? Basically the entire cast of that 70s show Fred was the protagonist and it was marketed towards my uncle and his friends. Titanic. Brock, did your old lady just toss the necklace off over the edge of my ship? Granddaughter, Grandma Rose wouldn't do that. I've been taking care of her for a decade now. She loves me and would never throw $1 million inheritance away for no reason. Brock, that really looked like the necklace that I have worked my entire life organizing a deep sea exploration to find. The necklace this crew of 50 people has been at sea for weeks looking for. Granddaughter, come on. Do you think she would have sat around making us listen to her life story for 2 days while the necklace was in her pocket the whole time? Who would do that? Brock, yeah, I guess you would have to be some kind of self-centered psychopath to toy with people like that. And your grandma seems like a nice lady. I must have imagined it. Fun fact, there was an alternate ending originally where Rose throws it over the side in front of them while they try to catch it. Test audiences hated it so much that they cut it and reshot for the theatrical cut of the film. The kid from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The guy is a dong. And a terrible influence on Rolly. Homer Simpson in a Frank Grimes animated series. Or Grimy as he liked to be called. If the TV show Arrow were told from Detective Lance's point of view, the city just has a mass murderer running around in a hoodie, killing people with arrows. Basically the Punisher, except for some reason the Punisher is a violent nutcase and Arrow is a hero. Peppa Pig. She's a spoiled, jealous Winnie nightmare and kids love her. Peppa and Kayla and Ruby can all frick off, just unrelenting whining. The Blue Raja. He killed Captain Amazing. I always thought Rory from the Gilmore Girls would have made an excellent villain if told from Paris's POV. Imagine Lorelai from Emily's POV. I think that could get interesting. Most sitcom protagonists. They're complete dongs to people, especially people outside their circle. That's why I love that episode of Community where they confront them and how all the students hate them for their antics. The characters from Gundam Wing are literally child terrorists. One of them bombed an enemy trainee academy and shoots a woman who hesitates to shoot him because of his age. The entire philosophy of child soldiers. And he says it's because she's a woman before running off. Later, another kills a ship full of fleeing people who wanted to make peace with no downsides. Later, he tries to kill Himsel to prevent his technology from getting compromised based on an order. Then the Dr. Willy looking guys who led them and dragged their colonies into an armed conflict involuntarily start preaching about how war is terrible. Man, how did that show air on Cartoon Network? Man, how did that show air on Cartoon Network? Animation always makes it seem less bad than it is. Twilight. Bella. From the first person perspective she's a fairly standard teen who gets a bit too involved in her first relationship, goes through heartache, throws standard teenage strops but ultimately isn't intending to harm anybody. Now let's look at her from a few other perspectives. Her father puts up with her screaming about Edward after they break up. He tolerates her traveling across the country, across the world, and suddenly adopting a niece out of nowhere. After her relationship with Edward results in her breaking just about every bone in her body and nearly killing her multiple times, he tries to get her to cut back on the amount of time they spend together. Even then, she's constantly getting into danger without telling him. The Cullens freaking inexplicably put up with the fact she endangers their entire group on several occasions, even going so far as to protect her by literally putting their lives on the line. The one vampire with a lick of sense to be against bringing a human into the family is treated like she's bad for saying so. The werewolves again inexplicably put up with her despite the blatant emotional manipulation she pulls on Jacob. She spends most of her free time hanging around their mortal enemies. Her antics put their lives on the line as well, and they're forced to step in and help stop a wave of vampires that only came after the town because of the evil chick wanting Bella. Her fellow students who go out of their way to make her feel welcome at the school are completely pushed aside. Anna Kendrick at one point is completely abandoned so Bella can go ride a motorcycle with someone who literally tried to violate her previously. Even the Volturi are primarily concerned for their kind. If you spun the novel to be about a bunch of underground vampires protecting their brood and being forced to kill off an outsider who is doing everything they can to expose vampires to the world, they'd be the good guys. Bella's a dong. Yo. Nathan Drake. In every installation, he wholesale destroys an ancient civilization in his quest to loot priceless artifacts for personal gain and kills thousands of grunt workers along the way. Nathan never met a bridge that didn't completely collapse beneath him. If I were a citizen of Gotham, I'd be pretty pissed if I found out Batman had multiple opportunities to shoot the Joker in the face but decided not to. Well, you can't bring that up without mentioning the crappy security or lack of rehabilitation for the prisons at Arkham. Gotham is just a tiny bit messed up. Zack and Cody from Mr. Mosby's perspective. I'm trying to run a freaking 5-star hotel in the middle of Boston. I'm giving your mother a suite at a huge discount because she's a subpar performer. You destroy expensive items, annoy guests, distract employees, steal and cause general havoc. You insult me in front of employees and guests. You take advantage of the owner's half-retarded daughter and use her money to fund your shenanigans. Seriously, if I were him, they would be on the street. You know you're a grown-up when you find yourself siding with Mr. Mosby. Peter Pan, sociopath that kidnaps children and terrorizes sailors. Even as a main character, he's really creepy. The Disney version toned him down several dozen notches. Who is Spider-Man? He's a criminal. That's who he is. A vigilante. This webbed menace is terrorizing the town. I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted. I want him strung up by his web. I have your pictures, Jameson. That is part of the premise in the book Wicked. It's the Wizard of Oz from the Wicked Witch of the West's point of view. Great book, as well as 2 sequels. Dorothy is portrayed as a bumbling idiot who caused the death of the witch's sister. Check out Twisted, which is the same thing except with Aladdin, told from the perspective of Jafar. It's Gregory House, or whatever cynical dickish character you could remember. Piper Chapman PLZ, Orange is the New Black. She is hated by the fan base anyway, lol. I am not saying Deadpool is evil, but if we are honest, I can understand why he annoys X-Men. He gives them a bad rep, goes against everything they stand for, and so on. The only redeeming factor for him is that he kills bad guys instead of good guys, but that's crazy enough to forget the difference for a day. And kudos to Colossus for still believing in him after the amount of crap he made. RJ Gale from Far Cry 4. From Pagan Min's perspective, he's just an outsider who comes to his country to frick crap up. He ends up helping either Amita or Sabal. The former wants to harvest opium for economic purposes, and ends up forcing children to fight the revolution. The latter ends up being a religious fanatic nut job who kills everybody who isn't in the same religion as him and doesn't have anything against sacrificing children in religious rituals. Also, Pagan invites RJ to a meal. He leaves before eating and exactly when Pagan is undisposed. What a dong. TBH, you can just not shoot Pagan and let him leave on the chopper. You can then find and shoot both Amita and Sabal. I think any cop from any TV show or movie, cops just come out rapid fire accusing the people and blowing up on them. Where were you when you violated and murdered that old woman? I didn't violate and murder anyone. I was at 7-11. So you violated and murdered her by the slushy machine. You sick frick. Perverts like you should go to jail. Are you crying? Yeah, you're accusing me of being a debaucher and murderer, and that hurts. And I'm scared that you're going to go to jail and die a lonely miserable death like the horrible person you are. What? Is that guilt coming back to haunt you? No, that you're trying to trick me to saying something that I didn't, sir. Turns out this guy's alibi is legit. Cut to next scene. Cop barking orders at others. No apology to the accused, he just traumatized. Then the cops are confused why a bunch of the other suspects are being uncooperative and shady. I've always noticed that they treat the suspect like they're guilty before they even look into their alibi. I feel like idea of Sheldon Cooper is wasted potential as an enemy to the main character in an actually funny show. While never a villain, I think Sheldon was set up more as the thorn in the side character in early episodes, back when Leonard was closer to a normal nerd protagonist. But then Sheldon took over and Leonard got exaggerated into a cringy ultra nerd too. Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. Jerry from Tom and Jerry, dude's evil : Kvoth from the Kingkiller Chronicle. He's a cocky little know-it-all with a huge ego, dubious morality and a stunning disregard for anyone who's not him or someone he cares about. He's also probably the cause of what appears to be a continental war. To be fair, a lot of the fan base does recognize this even though he is the protagonist. But if we didn't know his reasoning backstory, he'd probably be hated at least as much as Ambrose. The Doctor, from Doctor Who, is a bad guy from certain perspectives, although that's kind of the point, at least in the new version of the show. Davros, the man who abhors violence, never carrying a gun. But this is the truth. Doctor, you take ordinary people and you fashion them into weapons. Behold your children of time, transformed into murderers. I made the Daleks. Doctor, you made this. The Doctor, they're trying to help. Davros, already I have seen them sacrifice today, for their beloved Doctor, the Earthwoman who fell opening the subwave network. The Doctor, who was that? Rose, Harriet Jones. She gave her life to get you here. Davros, how many more? Just think, how many have died in your name? The Doctor, the man who keeps running, never looking back because he dare not, out of shame. This is my final victory. Doctor, I have shown you yourself. Scott Pilgrim, from the perspective of either woman and the story, he is a total dong. I really don't think he's supposed to be that likable in either the book or the movie, but I gathered his problems stem from his self-confidence issues. That's why his quest is really for the power of self-respect. 4 hours in and no mention of SpongeBob from Squidward's perspective. Holy frick, I even Control plus F'd the whole thing. The problem is Squidward is a sane man in an insane world. Everyone else in society tends to like SpongeBob because they are cartoonish as well. But Squidward just wants peace and quiet and the chance to stay at home and paint and play his clarinet. Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother. Bigger douche than Barney in my opinion. At least Barney wasn't pretending to be the victim like Ted would. You have been visited by the party pug. He just wants you to celebrate with him. Comment woohoo to celebrate with the party pug. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.